believe Bethany is going to kick us off. Can everyone see my, I'm sharing my slides. Can everyone see that?
We can. Perfect, Brooke. Thank you. Yes, I want to echo Brooke and say welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you here. If at all possible, we'd love to see your faces as we kick off this first Sustainability Grant Learning Community session this afternoon. All right, let's kick it off welcoming in fall. Yes, autumn began today, and we'll do a little quick kind of check in with the group. So Brooke, if you want to head to the next slide. All right, your choice, right? So everybody check out the slide here. We'll welcome in autumn with a few of our favorites. So how about just share in the chat what some of your favorites are? So you can choose your favorite autumn flavors and just list a few, your favorite autumn colors, desserts, or your favorite autumn activities. So we'll give everybody a chance to shout out a favorite fall something or other, as you see here on the screen. And as you're doing that, we'll get to know a little bit about what our fall favorites are for this group. Candy corn. I knew somebody would have it. Several folks noting pumpkins. Definitely a favorite for fall. And man, fall really came in like fall, at least where I am. It's been a little rainy and cool, certainly bringing on some of these autumn favorites. All right, well, as you all are continuing to add your autumn favorites, I'll do some quick introductions and then we'll kick it off here this afternoon. Just want to be mindful of your time. We're so grateful that you're able to join us this afternoon. Our intent was to be together in person for this first learning session, but given everything that's going on and just being mindful of all of that, we decided to do this kind of after school, shorter virtual session. So we want to make the most of our time this afternoon. So I'll just say hello, I'm Bethany Fillers. I'm the Director of Professional Learning for Rural Life. And I'll kick it to the amazing Brooke Drennan to introduce herself. You all know her very well.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I think I know just about everyone. There may be a few folks out there I haven't met personally yet, but just excited to be working with all of you this year and really happy to have you here today. So thanks. Thanks for all the awesome work you're doing.
Exactly. A couple other people that we want to introduce. Let's see, Dr. Richard Kitzmiller, he's the project director for Rural Life. And as I always like to kid in his spare time, the vice president for the Niswonger Foundation. He may pop in a little bit. John Payne, our director of technology. Several of you may have worked with him, also helping us out with some of the purchases that you're making as a part of this grant, along with Pam Cox, who's our compliance officer. And then you would have heard from Brittney Siebert, our communications coordinator. So she'll has been and will continue to send lots of communication out about the grant. So keep her in mind in the coming days as we send some follow-ups to this email. And then super excited to introduce our partners. Teresa, I'll let you and Nancy introduce yourselves.
Hi, everybody. I recognize many of you because we have been with this grant since its inception, working in partnership with the Niswonger Foundation. I am Teresa of Leading Edge Learning, and I am here with my colleague, Nancy.
Hi, everyone. Great to be with you.
All right. How about next, we give a shout out to you all, our sustainability grant teams. So excited to have you here. So just let you look down that list. Shout out to Carter County, Churchill Middle School, or Hawkins County, our middle schools there from that district. Let's see, we've got East Ridge Middle School, Hancock Middle, Rush Strong Elementary, and Smoky Mountain. So we are excited to have you all as a part of this sustainability grant learning community for this school year. All right, with that, Brooke, I'll hand it over to you, and I think you're going to kick us off with an introduction activity.
Right. So one of our goals for today is just to work on building our community within the sustainability grant schools, and just really having some time to share the focus of the grant work, the awesome work that you all are doing in your schools, and also to hear a little bit more about the work of the other teams that are involved in the grant. So to do that, we're actually going to take some time with our teams to do a little bit of slide design, and you guys are actually going to have the chance to do a short elevator pitch of if you were just going to sum up in a way that anyone could understand what it is that your school is working on, what your goal is for the year, and what you have accomplished so far throughout your 3 years in working with Rural Life, how you would sum that up. So I'm trying to figure out how I can get to show you just an example of the slide deck here. So I'm going to do that, and we'll share the link with you in the chat. So again, you'll just go into breakout rooms and you'll have some team time. I'm going to stop sharing for just 1 second so I can pull that up, and then I will share that right back with you. Sorry about that. Oh, technical difficulties today. Okay, so everyone is going to have a slide on this slide deck that's already created for your school with a little template. And they're all different colors. So you can just scroll down and find your school slide. Once you get into your breakout rooms, you'll have some time to just chat with one another. And then just kind of go in and enter some of this information. So you'll just delete some of the text that I have here and type over it. So you're going to have some time to introduce your school context, your to-do list, some things that you're really proud of, things that you've accomplished over the last 3 years, and things that you've accomplished already this year. But don't forget that you've been part of the Rural Life work for the past 3 years. So if this year is a little slow to start, we definitely have all have things that we can celebrate. And then just over to the right, you'll see a brief elevator pitch of description of your grant work and goals, some problems that you're trying to solve within your school, how you're going to know when you're improving, and what actions you're going to take to move toward improvement. So what kinds of things are you trying within your grant plan? What kinds of actions are you implementing? And then just the next slide is just a fun way to kind of show how things are going. So I think everyone's probably familiar with the how it started, how it's going meme. So you can just insert a photo here for how it started, how you started out, and that could be this year, or how you started out in over the past 3 years, thinking back to the very beginning of your Rural Life work and how it's going now. And to insert a photo, all you'll need to do is, for anyone who might need that little extra reminder, just go to insert, and then you're actually going to go to image. And if you have something on your computer that you want to share, you can just upload that. Or probably we're going to be searching the web, and we'll just search for something that kind of sums up how we started and how it's going now. So any questions about that?
Brooke, does it have to be an actual picture from their school?
No, it could be anything. Like maybe if you started out and you were really kind of just kind of out in left field and you were kind of disorganized, you could just put an image that would represent like disorganization, but now how it's going, maybe you have a stronger grasp on that. And so you're feeling more confident now. So if you do that Google image search, you should be able to pull up some images that might just be able to represent how you're feeling about how it was when you started and how it's going now. Good question. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so we will give you all, I'm going to send you into breakout rooms. I want to make sure that no one has snuck in on me here, and that I have everyone assigned to the breakout room with their school. We'll just send you in there. And you guys, how are we doing on time? About how long can we? I had 10 minutes on the plan. Does that sound good to to you all, Teresa and Nancy?
Yep, I think that's going to work for.
Okay. All right. So we'll just have some time. You might want to just assign a person to the task of creating the slide, and then also make sure that you decide who's going to share, because we're going to come back and share this out, your elevator pitch whole group. So we'll have just a wonderful volunteer. Okay. So I think have most of us made it back? Are we all back? If you're not back, raise your hand.
Everybody's back.
Everybody's back. Okay, so sorry, that was a very quick 10 minutes, and we actually went a little bit over, and so that was a lot to talk about and think through within 10 minutes. So if you weren't able to get all of that, it's totally fine. But we'll just take some time now. I hope you had a chance to just kind of volunteer someone to share whole group, and we will just take about 2 minutes per school, and you can share your elevator pitch with us and tell us a little bit about your school and just what you're working on this year, just so that we all have a good understanding and idea of the kind of work that we're doing within the sustainability grant. So Carter County, by the luck of the alphabet, we'll just let you guys go first, if that's okay.
Okay, hey, it's Catherine from Happy Valley Middle, and I'll just start talking. Our slides are obviously not complete. We did not get finished with those. And Mr. Garland and I, he's from Unaka, he's online with us as well. And we're trying to answer this question for the entire county. So I apologize for that in advance.
You guys are undertaking a big project this year.
We are, and we're very thankful for the opportunity, but Mr. Garland and I don't have all the answers. I'm from Happy Valley Middle School. We are a 5-8 school. And the grade bands are 6 through 8 for us this year. We have approximately 300 students in grades 6 through 8. Mr. Garland's school is also grade band 6 through 8, and he has approximately 81 students in grade band 6-8. I know that for us, when working with Dr. Edwards, our to-da list was, we looked at our master schedule and found time in there to incorporate a literacy period, because we felt like that was something that students were missing out on, trying to get through all the curriculum, that there wasn't enough time in our old schedule to allow students to just read. And I felt it was very important for students to be able to hear what good reading looks and sounds like. So we redid our master schedule to allow for a 30-minute all hands on deck literacy period at the very beginning of the day. And that's allowing those students the first 10 to 15 minutes to hear the adults in the building reading to them. And that's a text that has no task assigned to it. It's just reading for enjoyment. And after that 10 minutes, the teachers are able to decide if the kids are engaged and they want to continue reading the text, or turn the students loose and let them read text of choice. With the grant, what it's allowed us to do so far is start to build those classroom libraries and novel sets for teachers to implement in the classroom. I don't know how much else you want me to keep going?
Well, I think what you've shared so far is great, and I love that that to-do list. And I think Teresa said what a beautiful way to start the day. So I agree. That's awesome. And I know that you guys have a coordinated effort through across the county this year that's focused on writing and all of the content areas. And I see that there on your elevator pitch. Were you able to get to, probably not, but how it started, how it's going? Yeah, so I think, and you could maybe add to this as well, but I think how it's going is now we're trying to coordinate those efforts and everybody work together across the district. So it's a really exciting project that's going on, and it's taking a lot of coordination efforts from the district level. So it's exciting. Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Next up, we have Churchill Middle School.
Hi, sorry, I'm kind of doing this from my phone as I'm trying to set up my computer. I just got home. So Churchill Middle is a middle school with only 7th and 8th grade. We've got around 400 students. one thing that we're really, really excited about is that like in an environment where this is our second year with a new curriculum. Everybody in our school is very, very on board with like implementing to the best of our ability, and being as true to the curriculum as possible. And we got our grant approved, which is something else we're excited about. And we have a plan now to really put it into action, like it's really happening. Our elevator pitch is that our goal is really just to mainly become experts within our curriculum. So in terms of having time to PLC and talk together, in terms of learning as much as we possibly can directly from the source to be really, really comprehensive with our knowledge. That's a focus of ours this year. So we are getting training directly from Amplify this year to like really make sure we know our stuff. We're getting a lot of like deeper learning sessions from them this year and some individualized coaching sessions. And yeah, we're excited for that. And we're going to get some specific feedback training, some specific training about like close reading, differentiation. And we're excited to see how that feedback gets put into play and improves our student data. So I hope that was comprehensive enough.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I love your images here. I think we can probably all relate to this.
Yes. I felt significantly like you would appreciate the memes.
Yes.
Things were kind of crazy the first year that we piloted our curriculum, and our first year with the grant was my first year at the school. And things definitely were sort of chaotic, but like actually things have gotten to a place where maybe they're still chaotic because I think just teaching and juggling, the different hats that we wear is chaotic, but things have definitely gotten more purposefully chaotic.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Ellie.
Thank you.
And up next, East Ridge Middle School.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, Miss Jefferson.
Greetings, Brooke. Okay, let me introduce you to East Ridge Middle School, home of the Bears. We're in Hamlin County, grades 6 through 8. We have our to-do list is that we have new Rural Life teacher leaders this year, Rachel Newsom and Tiffany Fickle. And this year we've made progress in the area of data monitoring. We have been partnering with Rural Life for a few years now, and I honestly don't know where we would be without Niswonger, because they have provided us with lots of training, professional development, not just for us as leaders, but also for our teachers as teacher leaders. They have provided for us financially so that we were able to buy several things for our students to actually help our most at-risk readers. And when we partnered with Rural Life, we were a 1 in literacy. And so this past year we were a 5 in literacy. So yeah, I have to say kudos and thank you so much, Niswonger and Rural Life.
Well, Tracy, we appreciate the shout out, but we shout out you because, you all are the ones doing the work every day. So that's all you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And, I've been working at East Ridge for 3 years and they have a lot of great things going on there. So we're excited to have you back in the sustainability grant and continue to that data focus with students. So thank you so much.
Brooke, you
Yes.
forgot our elevator pitch.
Oh, Nancy, could you go back?
Exactly, you forgot.
Yeah, we want to know what you're planning for this year.
Okay, so we don't. Yeah, perfect. So our goals this year are focused on becoming a more data-driven team, 6 through 8. And of course, we always want it to be student focused, but really just data-driven, and especially including the kids in on that monitoring and documenting their own progress, and goal setting with the teacher, and it hopefully becomes more student led as the year progresses. That's what we hope to see. And we would know that we were meeting these goals when our daily conversation and the daily verbiage reflects that data-driven decision-making across the board. And we are using data folders for the first year this year. And so that's how we're going to kind of have the kids track their progress in their extended skills class. And the extended skills teachers will be working alongside the just tier 1 ELA teachers and math teachers to set goals and make sure the students are making progress and seeing that alignment on the benchmark exams that we take as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Rachel, for sharing that. And I'm glad that Ms. Jefferson, thanks for reminding me that we skipped that, because it's very important that we hear what you're working on and your excellent plan and the great work that you're already doing. So thank you. Up next, we have Hancock Middle School.
Hey, I'm Edwina Blevins, and I'm sharing Carrie's screen here. So here at Hancock, we have one elementary school and one middle school and one high school in our county. And we have one teacher per content area per grade. And we're focused on grades 6 through 8, which is 231 students in our middle school. And of course, we are part of Hancock County School District. So our to-do list, we are proud that we have regular PLC meetings, and it's built into our schedule. So when teachers are on their planning, they can come as a content area for meetings. We have professional development opportunities that we've been able to provide, school visits, professional learning library that we've built within our RTI room. We have revamped our library and hired a librarian. We've put flexible seating in there, added student selected books for them to check out and read. We have classroom libraries that we've added books in there in each classroom for easy access for the students. And a lot of those libraries are content oriented. So like social studies has social studies, materials. Mastery Connect is a benchmark program that we're using, and we've done a deep dive with the data usage and personalized learning. We created data folders for the students so that they can help show or get ownership, claim ownership. And we have a lot more collaboration among our teachers and our administrators. So I think we all are working well together. Our elevator pitch, we kind of erased the question. So our first bullet, we're providing data feedback to the teachers and students. We purchased data folders with their money for every student in every content area. And so they have been going around during the RTI time right now and having one-on-one conversations with those students about their 10 ready scores. We're trying to, we are increasing the levels of the depth of knowledge on the questions and working toward ownership, or working toward achieving student mastery in all content areas. How will you know when you improved? Okay, continuous checkpoints throughout the school year. We are looking at formative and summative data. We are doing classroom observations and walkthroughs as administration, and we're looking at our benchmarks. What progress do you expect to see along the way? We expect to see our teachers have more conversations with the students around data and use that data to drive instruction. And we also expect to see students take ownership of their own learning. And the students have recently received student planners that we purchased to keep students accountable for their own learning and engagement. Along with these data folders, we plan for the students to have a hands-on approach to their learning and scores, and in turn, this should boost scores and student involvement. So that's part of our plans.
Impressive. Yes. And I love your to-do list. I just love hearing about that. Oh, and your memes. Could you tell us about these?
Well, we started with, oh gosh, what are we going to do? And, now we've kind of got our hands into it, and it's going pretty good so far, or at least we feel it is. So
Well, that's
hope to
really,
continue in that
really good
journey.
to hear. Thanks, Edwina. Thank you so much for sharing. And up next we have Rush Strong.
Sorry, I kept clicking the wrong thing to unmute. That's on me. So they showed her how it started, how it's going there to start, and they were both like, I have no idea, because we really struggled there in the beginning, and then felt like we had a pretty good plan in back in July, and then our district rolled out a whole lot of things to start this year that were kind of what we were already going to do in the plan. And so how it started was we didn't know what we were doing, and how it's going as well, we're still kind of trying to figure it out. We're building the plane on the runway now. So anyway, back to Rush Strong. We're a K-8 school. We're in Jefferson County. We have about 500 kids in total, and around 200 in 6-8. Our TDA is, I can brag a little bit on this school. For those of you who don't know me, I was 2 years ago, I was a rural life coach, and was a rural life coach here at this school, and then left Niswonger to go be an assistant principal, and then came back, and now I'm the principal here at Rush Strong. So I've kind of come full circle. And since we started this work, we've seen Rush Strong move to literacy really becoming a strength in our instructional program. And so we're really excited about that. So where we are as far as a plan right now, our elevator pitch now is one thing that we really want to do is we want to increase our data literacy among our teachers and among our students. We really want to share out with our students where they are with their data, let them take their own ownership of that, and really go towards student agency in allowing them to see what the numbers say, know where they are and where they can go. And so, some of the things that we've talked with Brooke about as we're kind of revamping this plan over and over is, trying to roll a lot of this out through PLCs with teachers. We have a book study in mind that we'd like to do with our teachers in looking and using data effectively with our students, rather than just knowing that we have some numbers and at the end of the year we pull it all up and look at it again. So, but that's Rush Strong in a nutshell. And I guess we can't all be Tracy Jefferson. So.
And can you tell us what the book is?
Right now it is what Joey just told me the title again and walked out the door.
Sorry, no
Living by Data 2.0.
Hey,
I have it on my stack.
here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ben, for that. And I think we can all relate to your meme over the past 2 years for sure. We've all been feeling that, but it's exciting to hear that literacy has become a focus. And I just love everything that we're sharing. So we will move on to, is this our final school, I think, Smoky Mountain School.
Hello. The lady who's in charge, Miss Hall, is not here today, but I will be speaking for her. We're Smoky Mountain Elementary School. We are a small, close-knit elementary school with a pre-K through 8th grade with 187 students. So that's very different, I think, from the others. Our to-do list is we have updated our library, and it is fantastic. We have changed it from whenever I was in school to making it very, would have flexible seating. It has color in the walls, like it's not the drab library that it had been. And because of that, we have been able to really change the mindset of students. We have, in the past 2 years, had flexible seating, allowed students to make more, self-made, academic goals concerning literacy. We have really made literacy a huge push here at Smoky, and we're so excited about that. And our kids are excited about it. Our elevator pitch is that we want to continue building on the work we've been doing for the past 3 years with our literacy coach, Miss Linda Stewart. She has been helping, implementing new curriculum, the flexible seating, literacy-based instruction changes. We have also added, the library, and we're focusing on all across content areas. And like I said, I'm a first grade teacher, so I am here on behalf of Miss Hall, who couldn't be with us today. And she has really increased our literacy across the school. So like I said, we're a pre-K through 8th. So what 6th, 7th, and 8th is doing has trickled down through our school. So we're implementing some changes in 1st grade that we are seeing through the rural life. So that is such an amazing, whole school changes that we've been making. We are continuing to focus on our success rate through ELA assessments and case studies. And we're just really wanting to see the mind growth change and mindset.
Well, thanks so much for being here, Tiffany, and for sharing. And it's really great to see that the work spreading school-wide, because that is the intention of the sustainability grant is how can we spread this work? How can we keep it going? Oh, and I see your memes. Do you want to add anything about that?
I put those in. I'm Brittney Dennis. I teach
Hey, Brittney.
I teach 5th and 6th grade. So I'm math and science, but I'm part of the team. I did teach ELA at one time. And so, yeah, how it started, we're just going to be positive. We're going to try, to put our best foot forward there. And so it was a struggle. And especially I'm one of the classrooms that did get flexible seating. And so that right there was challenging for me. So I was going to stay positive, and I'm going to let them pick their seats and all that. But, and now, which we don't get to use it as much because with COVID, don't get to move around like we like to. But whenever they did get to use that flexible seating, it was amazing because they were very engaged. And so that was great to see. And people coming in the room like, oh my goodness, you can let them sit like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, they work very hard, sitting where they want to, and they want to keep that seat. And they know that if they don't act the way they should, then they're going to lose that privilege. So, and then how it's going now, don't worry, we've got this. We're going strong, and it's a tough year, but we've got this. So we've got a great team.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for sharing your experience with the flex seating. And I think when we try anything new, I think we're all clutching at our little teddy bears and just trying to keep a positive face. But I'm glad that you guys are making progress. And thanks everyone so much for sharing. It's just really energizing to see that all in one place and to see the work that you've been doing and your intentions for this year. And we're just really excited to partner with all of you and continue that great work that you're doing. So thanks so much. Now I'm going to pass it over to Nancy. And I did want to add before I step off that I may leave a little bit early. If you guys see me exit the screen, I have a class. So I just wanted to attend tonight. So I just wanted to make sure that I'll let you guys know that I'm not just dropping off the screen. So thanks so much.
Awesome. And I think it's going to go to Bethany.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
Let's do it. So again, yeah, just want to echo everybody's comments and my own in the chat there, that we just want to thank you for sharing. It is evident, right, that you all are focused on this work, and even in the midst of all that's happening, that you're still making the most of it. So we're excited to continue this journey with you this year. And for today, our objectives are the following, right? You've already done this one, right? Share your grant focus, but we're also going to continue to learn more about the work from others and from our partners, Tracy and Nancy. Also, we want to explore some implementation possibilities for data notebooks across all of the teams here. There's certainly a strong focus on using data effectively. So we're going to dig into that a little bit during our time together this afternoon, and really work as a school team to define what data sources we're using and then refine the use of those. And then lastly, begin to consider SEL competencies that support the use of student data across all different contexts, literacy, and then other subject areas as well. All right. And then, of course, this is just a reminder slide that these are our areas that we're focusing on as a part of the sustainability grant work. And like I said, a lot of you chose using data to personalize learning. And also tied to that would be student agency and ownership of learning. And then we're also hearing about how some of us are engaging in some flexible and personalized learning design. So over the course of the year, we'll unpack these and look forward to hearing what you all are up to across your schools.
All right, thanks everybody. So let's jump right into thinking about how we might combine, I guess, or how the first two goals here, these first two goals, activating student agency and ownership and using data to personalize learning, maybe are a little bit interconnected in how they connect. So first off, when you hear the word student agency, what comes to mind? And you can just put those things into the chat. When you hear student agency, or if you want to jump on your microphone, you can do that too. What comes to mind when you hear student agency? Yeah, Catherine, ownership, for sure. Bethany says choice, okay. All right, so choice, ownership. I know we're making you think now at the end of our Wednesday afternoon here. Self-guided, Ellie, all right, great. Oh, and there we go. Students advocating for themselves, for sure, and driven by student interest and voice, yeah. Student choice, thanks, Tiffany. So, you know, we've talked about, those of you who've been a part of this for, you know, since the beginning, we've talked about agency at different professional development sessions. If you haven't been, that's okay too. You know, it's a passion of ours because we believe so deeply in it. And sometimes when we think of, you know, student agency sounds kind of broad and far-fetched. And so we're going to I just want to take a minute to jump in here and to think a little bit more about agency. And so, you know, you all named many of these things, that when student agency occurs, when students assume responsibility for their learning, they take on that ownership that many of you mentioned. Oftentimes the student agency teachers offer learning experiences that are going to value student voice, student choice, and also incorporate student reflection into it. Hopefully with student agency, that students understand where they're headed in their learning journey, and they're also able to identify their areas of strengths and also gaps in their learning. So again, students are more partners in the learning. I like these statements that you're probably reading here. This comes from not from Tennessee, but I think it really helps us to think about what agency can look like. And as we think about what educators are doing in order to allow that agency, but also what students are doing. Students are partnering in setting their learning goals, and they are assessing and monitoring and reflecting on their own progress. And you see some of the some more of what it can look like, where students are taking some ownership by really thinking about where they are and using their voice and choice. I also love these, and if we've shared them before with you all, if you've been in professional learning with us before, but this student agency mindset, sometimes we call it a learner agency mindset because it's really for any learners. But we know that when agency is present, that this mindset is a big piece of what's happening, that students might say things like, I can learn, or they believe that they can learn, that they feel like they can do these things, that they have that efficacy, and that they are able to say, this is important to me because, right? They're able to explain maybe why they're doing something. Hopefully there's some goal setting there. These are my goals and I can reach them, or they have at least some idea of how to reach them. And they're also thinking about what they personally need to work on, what their strengths are. And then also that they know how to get help. They know how to get that help that they need. Sometimes we think of agency, it maybe gets a fluffy feeling to it, or it sounds like, yeah, that all sounds great, but there's really, what is the depth there? And so I like this image of kind of like an iceberg, where on the surface, when we think of agency, we see voice and choice. We maybe see autonomy, which sometimes feels, for some of us or some teachers, sometimes too loose. But when we look under the surface of student agency, there has to be accountability and curriculum knowledge, that there are resources and there is instruction. It isn't just students are doing whatever they want. There is instruction. There is guidance and scaffolding, but there is also goal setting and self-efficacy. So it kind of goes hand in hand that all of these things are happening on maybe, some would say, below the surface, right? The teacher is highly involved in developing student agency. So with that agency in mind, now let's jump to data notebooks and personalized learning. How does all of this fit together? How did we choose these three areas, as focus areas, or these two things, data, as well as student agency? And so I'd love either Teresa or Bethany or Brooke, do you mind dropping the link in the chat there? And let's take a look here at this document, which comes from our RAND study. And Teresa put a link in the chat, so you're more than welcome to click on that and kind of look at it at your own pace, or kind of move things around. But where do you see either student agency or data involved as you think about these elements of personalized learning? And if you haven't seen this, I think everybody has seen this before, but if you haven't, just really quickly, along the top in the gray, those are the four key areas to personalized learning from the RAND study. But then under it are these key elements. So kind of the elements are broken down under each one. So take a look at these for a minute. Where do you see student agency and data coming into play within these elements of personalized learning? And you're more than welcome to jump on the microphone or put it in the chat.
Just a quick look, it looks like they're embedded in every area.
Yeah, Catherine, thank you for jumping on the microphone and sharing. Yes, I mean, there's an element of agency probably in almost all of it. And there is a big piece of data in a lot of these as well, right? We can, whether it actually names data or data, in order for students to have flexible or multiple paths through content, there's going to have to be some data there to know where the student is, right? So thanks, Catherine. Anybody else, anything that really stands out to you as you think about agency or data in looking at these? right. One that's really stands out for me is this one here, that is across several of them. But within learner profiles, students create individual goals, student data is provided, and students and teachers discuss their data along with their goals. So that's a big one there. And then right underneath of that, students have opportunities to discuss their learning data or feedback with teachers. So we see that that's really important there. And then that one about data comes up several times with students having opportunities to discuss their data and feedback. So we see that kind of throughout there. We also see over here in flexible learning environments that student data is provided to students, and there are opportunities for students to set their own learning goals. So no matter what your focus is this year, hopefully this will be, as we go through this next little bit, you'll kind of, maybe there's something you can take away. Maybe there's something you want to try. And maybe some of you are already trying or beginning. I know from talking with Brooke, many of you are already talking about utilizing data in data notebooks within data notebooks for student learning. Right. So hopefully, as we think about why are data notebooks important, just like we said, well, first of all, we know it's a key component or tenet as we look at personalized learning and as we look at student agency, but data notebooks do help to build agency. It kind of gives us that place to provide students feedback on their progress. We know that the research says that data notebooks increase student motivation, and they help students participate in their own learning. So, you might be thinking, well, we give students their work back, and they get feedback on their assignments. Why do we need a data notebook? But the data notebook is a place that can house some of this, can house student data, but also is a place that provides an opportunity for students to track their progress, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. Data notebooks could include a lot of things. There is no like one thing that has to be in there, but it could house personalized information like something from a learner profile. Some of you have started those. There oftentimes are charts or graphs, things that help the student self-monitor and document that progress. I think that is really key, and maybe the one thing that you need something in there that's going to allow students to help them monitor and document their progress. You might also have objectives or a guide to helping students goal setting. And then there might be formative assessments or other student work in these data notebooks. Now, I actually, in my classroom, when I was teaching, I taught every grade but second. And so whether it was my K1 students or my upper grade students, my third, fourth, or fifth graders, we use data notebooks and we use them to help. And I actually went from fifth grade down to K1. I wanted to kind of test that and learn more about teaching reading and teaching to a younger grade. So I requested that jump when there was an opening at my school, and the school-wide we did data notebooks, and I thought there's no way that we're going to be able to do how am I going to do these with 5- and 6-year-olds? I can't even get them to tie their shoes back when you had to tie your shoe when there wasn't really the Velcro shoes as much. But it really ended up being a great opportunity for students to take that ownership. And so I know that your students are 10, 11, 12, 13. And so if my 5- and 6-year-olds can do it, I know that your older students can do it as well. And I think you'll see some similar, the benefits with your students too. So a few examples. Actually, I'm going to pause right there. How many of you all in the chat have ventured into this? Trying data notebooks, or have a teacher or two that are looking at utilizing data notebooks. And again, it could be a folder. I have a picture there of a folder. Sometimes it isn't maybe necessarily a hardbound notebook, but anybody? venturing down this path with students. Yeah, Ellie, thank you. That's great, Ellie. Jody, yeah, and Tiffany. Okay. Great, Tiffany. And so Ellie, Jody, Tiffany, or anybody else, is there anything that you want to share? Maybe some of the things that the benefits that you've seen or so far, even if you're just getting started.
So one thing, sorry, I'm like walking around my house now. I'm very mobile today. One thing that I've noticed that is really helpful that we keep up with in our data notebooks is attendance. I mean, I know that's not like a literacy data point. We track that also, but I always think it's really interesting how little time it takes for them to have ownership over their attendance. Like when they look at it on a graph, and if they've missed a lot of days, they go, oh, wow, I've really not been here much in the last like week or so. And I really probably need to get on those missing assignments. And so like having an array of things that we track has been really helpful. And our assistant principal this year is new. She's awesome. And she's made us like all of these tracking sheets. So, I mean, we just sit and have the conversation with them, and it's really productive. So.
Wonderful, Ellie. Perfect segue. Anybody else want to share anything? Okay, we'll have a little bit more time for sharing too. So if you think of something, and of course, this is a learning community, and so we want you to ask questions and jump in. That's part of this too. So a few examples, and then I'm going to give you a few minutes to explore some templates. I think maybe some are from Ellie's school, and then we have some others as well. So like Ellie mentioned, it doesn't just have to be literacy data that you're tracking, but attendance, we know how important it is for students to be in our class. When they're in our class, they're more likely to be learning than if they're not there. So that attendance data, here is an example of of ELA standards. And these are your student language there. And then you see, asking the student, are they developing, are they meeting expectation, or are they exceeding it? You can see how this is taking ownership and sharing ownership. It doesn't just now lie in a teacher's grade book, but it's here where students can see it and are helping to track that. Here's also some examples of learning goals. I think that the goals are a really important component. Having students write goals and set goals for themselves. Now, I will tell you, setting goals takes a little bit of time. And I do think it takes some practice and some scaffolding for our students. But what a great life skill to be able to set a goal. But also what I love about the goal setting is it helps them to, again, take the ownership from just, you know, we've all probably heard at some point in our career, a student saying, oh, the teacher gave me a bad grade, or the teacher gave me, right? Gave me? No, you earned that grade. But it hopefully helps them to take ownership, and also helps them to think about some specific things they can do to improve. So I love that on that. It really calls it out there on that second one. Up here on this first one, I will meet these goals by doing, you know, and you'll see some more examples of these. So in the data notebooks, there is an opportunity to track progress, but also a place to set goals. I think those are the two key things when you're thinking about the data notebooks. So I'd love for you, we're gonna put a link to, I love that, Joanna, yes. When my students say I gave them a grade, I say, no, I just record them. Yep. So I think Teresa Teresa just put it in there. Here are some templates that you can just take a look at. You're more than welcome to make a copy of them and modify them later on to use. But right now I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to take a look at some of the templates that are in this folder. And if you have ones that aren't in here, please share them with Brooke and we can add them, because again, that's part of our learning community. But I want you, as you look at them, to think about, what do you think would be the most helpful for students in developing their agency, their ownership over their learning, and why? Okay, so I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to take a look at these.
Oh, Nancy, I just wanted to add in that we put some actual examples from schools, some schools that are here that are implementing data notebooks this year. And also just there are some other examples for people to explore. So if you're already kicking that off and we've already used a template, maybe there are some others that you might be interested in.
Perfect. Thank you, Brooke. All right, so giving you just a few minutes to take a look at those that are in there. Teresa put the link in the chat. It's also on the website. All right. You've had a couple of minutes to take a look at some of the things that are in there. Does anyone want to share something, a template that you noticed that was helpful? Again, not all of these are from East Tennessee, but it is sometimes kind of nice to see what others, and then like Brooke said, make a copy of it and modify it. Or you might like one piece of this one and another piece from something else. So anybody want to share something that you found that you thought would be helpful or interesting as you think about this idea of developing student agency and students taking ownership as they look at their data? And feel free, you can use the microphone or the chat.
Hey, I'll chat again.
Thanks.
I think for us, part of our school improvement plan, we're continuing to try to get our chronic absenteeism rate decreased. And I like the attendance tracking sheet because, you know, with rural life, our focus is on literacy and writing and all of that. However, that can improve unless those chronically absent students take ownership in the importance of being here. So for us, I liked that sheet.
Yes, Catherine. And you know, I think you bring up a great point too. And maybe this isn't where you were going or alluding to, but I also heard a little bit in that maybe this year you're not going to start on full on students setting a goal for every subject area or something, but maybe every student this year might track their own attendance. And then, you know, maybe another teacher might take on something else like, oh, I'm going to track my behavior referrals, or I mean, you know, something else, but just even starting with tracking their own attendance. Like Ellie mentioned, like when you see it right there and, you know, in black and white, or you're coloring it in or you're charting it, it is kind of, you know, just that something small like that can motivate students. You know, I don't know about you all, but if you have a fitness watch, do you get motivated just to like see like, okay, I gotta like walk a few more steps right now, right? And so it's really no different than us tracking. Well, I mean, there is a difference, but it's the same idea, and the research behind it is the same about tracking your attendance data. Sometimes students can't always control it, but if they, I think it does, we begin to hear students saying, I got to get to school today. I have to, you know. So Catherine, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. We don't have to start full blown. We can start with one small thing. Yes, and Ellie, you say that the student focused East Ridge template. I can pull that one up here. Let's just, I can pull it up here. Oops. Well, maybe not. Oh, I guess now my share is gone. Let's see, I've been having, oh. I was trying to, here we go. Okay. The East Ridge example. Oops, where is that? Which one? Oh, East Ridge, there we go. Yes, so this is the one that I think Ellie is, yeah, they're in student focus. So you can kind of see there students maybe adding a motivational quote. And so kind of thinking on their TN ready scores, their strengths, skills to improve, next steps. Then you see benchmarks here. And steps that they'll take to reach that. People I will ask for, and teacher strengths. So you see lots going on there, and hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what can be there. We don't have to start this. You don't have to start with all of this. You can start with just something, something small, or one or two things that they're looking at, and begin to kind of get students in this mindset. Yes. Okay. And looks, yes, Brooke has been helping you all. Tiffany says Brooke's been really helping East Ridge with that. So yes, kudos to Brooke.
I was just going to add in there that, you know, if there's something that a school is thinking about tracking, maybe you have a certain program, or there's something that you think would really be helpful. I like Carrie's comment that maybe all of these might work for certain students. It really depends on what the students need to improve ownership with. So that's something we could work on as an individual basis, just designing the templates that would work for your school. That's something that I would be really happy to work on with you. And another thing that I wanted to add in is just that Brandy Wilson, our coach who supports Washington County, shared the Washington County learner profile example with me. And I loved this one because it had a really strong SEL focus. That's really what they're working on this year, and had a spot for the student profile picture, which I loved. I had read recently in a professional text that I was reading, just the idea of bringing a picture of every student student with you to data meetings. So when you're talking about that student data, actually seeing their face there. So this would be something that would be really easy for the students to put the picture on, and then you could just pull it up digitally to have that picture, because I was thinking, geez, where do they get those pictures to bring with them? So that, I thought that was a really neat idea.
Yes, thank you, Brooke, so much. And here's that that learner profile. It's a great opportunity for teachers just to know more about their students. And we know how important those teacher-student connections can be, and a great place to begin thinking about our data. And then there we go, we have the data and goals.
Oh, and one more thing, not to dominate, but I've been thinking about Carter County as well, with their focus on writing this year, and really how everything that you include in a data notebook doesn't have to be numerical. So really thinking about those writing samples and how students could track their performance in writing over time. I think using something like a writing portfolio would fit in with this discussion as well, and just really have students reflect on where they started at the beginning of the year and the progress that they made. I think you should be able to see that and let them pick their best writing samples and things that they're proud of.
Yes, Brooke, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that leads us right into, you know, as we think about what we're setting up the structure for the data notebooks, and then what kind of data might we want to collect. So something getting started, you know, whether you're getting started with just introducing the attendance tracking, or whether you're starting out and you're going to do more than that, you know, you want to do maybe students setting some academic goals or tracking some academic. You need to introduce the notebook and just talk about what is setting, what is good goal setting. And then have them go ahead and write those. This is first quarter goals, but maybe just write their first goals. Now, I will say this, I think that setting a year-long goal is too long of a goal. Right? That's too far out. You're not going to see enough progress, and there's not really enough opportunities to have conversations with students. So I highly encourage you to set shorter term goals. You know your students. I found that even like for younger students, that even a quarter was sometimes too long of a goal because we didn't see enough progress. But not just for younger students, maybe you need a little bit more incentive. So, but I wouldn't go longer than a quarter. So even if you're doing attendance, I would have them set a goal. How many days do you want to be here, or how many days do you not want to miss this time? Again, it kind of goes, think about your fitness watch, or any kind of goal that we set as an adult. We have a goal in mind, right? And then we track that progress. Then weekly, and I'm going to push you and say, try to do this weekly, have students track progress on their goal and identify strategies for achieving them. Now, what that means is you can't just use your 10 ready scores as the ultimate measure, right? Because what are they going to track every week going towards that? So you might need some, which we're going to give you a few minutes in just a minute, but you're going to have to think about what other kinds of data they can be looking at and tracking that's ultimately going to get them towards that bigger goal. But you know, if you can't do it weekly, then definitely every other week, but you don't want to go too long without having students track some kind of progress. So this is like Brooke was saying, writing samples. I used to have my students take out, look through their work from the week, and something they were proud of, they would put in there, or something that showed progress, they would actually add that document. Now I know a lot of our things are digital, but at least they could record that in there. So again, it's looking at whether it's a quiz or a piece of classwork or a test. All of those things can go in towards thinking about their goals. And then this is also a really important piece, and we saw this back when we were looking across the key indicators of personalized learning. At least once a month, try to have a quick check-in with your students to discuss their progress and help them set new goals if they're needed. So maybe if they've met a goal, or if they are maybe they're really not doing well towards their goal and they need to figure out some different strategies. So that conversation, and I think I heard Ellie when she was sharing, she kind of alluded to that conversation or those check-ins that they're having. So you have to make some time. There are some structures that you have to put in place, whether you're tracking your attendance or whether you're looking at writing and the growth of writing, or our ELA strategies and standards. There needs to be some kind of check-in. Otherwise, this just becomes a notebook on the shelf, and I'm accountable to no one for it except for myself. And so finding those opportunities. I'll pause there for a minute. And those of you who have begun to set up data notebooks, do you have any structures that have helped you as you're putting these things in place? Have you found a time? And I think back in the chat, somebody talked about using it during their RTI. I think that was, yes, during their tier 1 in their connections class. Ellie, it was you talking about your connections class. So you've identified that structure and said, okay, this is when we're going to do it, which is really important because you have to make the time for it. I don't think it has to take, we're not talking, it has to take a whole hour. Who has a whole hour to give? But this will help you in students taking ownership, which we know will help improve their proficiency as they take that ownership. So I'll pause. Anybody have any structures that have been helpful?
I'll add on, in a school I supported, we took a little audit of how we were spending time in class. And at first it was, we don't have time to do that. But we realized we were spending quite a bit of time just getting settled when we were getting into the classroom. And before you know it, there went 7 minutes. And so just coming up with just simple structures, like when you come in to the classroom, right, I expect you to do these 3 things, one of them being track your attendance or XYZ, whatever that list might be. So there might be little things, right before you go to lunch or right at the end of the day, little ways to think about how we're really using that time and where I could then tuck in little moments to get into my data notebook.
Thank you, Bethany. That's great. Yes, we have to find the time. Anybody else? All right. One other thing about those conferences, that, like I mentioned, feedback is really going to be critical to the success and the impact on student outcomes. So they need feedback. They need to have somebody to have conversations with about their data. And so here's an example of, and I'll put this in, I don't think this was in the folder, but maybe of what a conference can look like. The teacher before the conference is going to think about, okay, what do I need to do with this student? Maybe revisit their goals, help give them some feedback, or maybe there's some coaching. What prep do I need to do? Oops. What prep do I need to do there? And then what do the students need to do after I meet with them? And then what do I need to do as a teacher? Oops. I'm using my trackpad and it's jumping screens there. So maybe that's just an idea, and that is from Catlin Tucker, and I will share that one in there. So I want to give you a few minutes to kind of think about what, just like Catherine already started thinking about what data might be helpful for her students to track. I want you to begin to think about what data might be helpful for you in your situation to have students track. And then what structures or routines will you need to put in place? And Brooke or Teresa, do you have anything else to add as you think about those structures and routines? Any other examples there?
I just dropped one in the chat about kind of using flexible time in different ways where, like, especially in middle school, when you have like maybe 60 kids on your roster throughout the day, instead of thinking about it as this chunk of time, think about it as when can I pull one kid at a time. A lot of teachers will do that, or they'll just say, like, your last name is with an S, I'm going to meet with you at some point today. And so that that's what I've seen be highly successful in that very structured bell schedule.
Yes. Yes, I know that, you know, having that day, like Teresa said, like every Monday, I'm going to meet with these, you know, 5 students. Tuesday, I'm going to meet with these, you know, and kind of getting, so they know it's their day for a quick conference, and that those conferences happen during our, either our, you know, our bell ringer time or our, you know, wrap up time. So you kind of have that structure in place.
I really like that example. And this actually wasn't data notebooks, but I feel like you could replace this example with data notebooks. I worked with a teacher who used independent reading as her bell ringer every day. And she had book talks with students, and she would have them just sign up when they were ready to have a book talk. So if you have students, just sign up when they're ready to have a data conference. Everybody's expected to have one X amount of times during the semester or during the 9 weeks, and just sign up when you want to chat. And then they did that while other students were reading independently during that bell ringer time. So I thought that was a good use of time for her.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. And Christy put in the chat that they build in data days into their pacing guide after benchmarks and common formative assessments to have those conversations. So that's great.
I know that's something that Hancock is starting this year as well, and they're utilizing RTI time for that. And Eastridge is using extended skills class. I think Tiffany and Rachel put that in the chat. They're using their extended skills time to work on that as well.
Awesome. So we're going to let you go back into those, into your breakout rooms just to kind of process a little bit. Think about what data might be helpful to track or to look at some of those templates a little bit more. And we'll give you about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back out. And if you have any questions, things that you're thinking about or wondering about, you can come back out and ask them to the group, because it looks like we have a lot of people, a lot of different strategies people are using, which is great. So about 5 minutes to think about what data might be helpful for students to track and what structures or routines need to be put in place. All right, and those breakout rooms are open now.
Couple people it says are not assigned. I'm not sure why. Oh, Brittney is Smoky. Is that actually? I'm just gonna ask.
Mine's maybe not assigned because I switched from my phone to my computer.
Oh, okay. Ellie, what room were you in? Do you remember?
Churchill Middle. I think it was 3, maybe.
With Justin.
Yeah.
All right. Samantha.
I was in room
Brittney.
6. This is Brittney.
Room
Yeah.
6. Great.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Samantha or Alicia.
Alicia will go with 6. Miss Smoky.
Yeah, 6.
Okay, perfect. Neat.
Quiz.
Good luck.
Welcome back. Dreams where you take it out. Welcome back to the same old place that you laughed at. We're an angel of change since you're around. Those dreams have remained, they've turned around. We need you. Back here where we need you. Yeah, we tease him a lot 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back.
All right, I think everybody's back in. So anybody have any reflections that they want to share? any data that you are thinking about that might be helpful for your students to track, or any structures or routines that you were kind of talking about, how you might set this up, or how you already are setting it up, but maybe some new thoughts. And does anybody have any questions? Like, do you want to know from Christy how they built in the day-to-days, or from Eastridge how they're utilizing their extended skills class? Or so feel free to use this time to ask a question too. You might have been thinking, I wonder how they're doing something.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Tracy.
Okay, I have two things. First of all, we talked about as a team that we might like to add in to our data folder at least once in 9 weeks or once a grading period, a note from a teacher where they are proud of a student because they have seen progress. So I may not, I'm your advisor, let's say, but your social studies teacher wrote a note on your paper that says, I see such progress in using ACE to describe your answers. And so I think we need to record that in our data notebook once a grading period, you know.
Love that.
I don't know, but I'm open for thoughts about that from the group. And secondly, if she could tell us about those day-to-days, that would be great.
Yes, Tracy, I love that. I have not heard anybody come up with that. That adding the personal like teacher note. And I mean, even if it's on a post-it note, even if it's, you know, a little handwritten something, that would be awesome. And then making sure that every student has something. Very cool. Very cool. I don't, Christy, are you still on? And I don't know.
Yes, Nancy, I am.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I am the ELA coach for middle grades in Jefferson County. So I make the pacing guide, and our secondary supervisor, Michelle Walker, she and I agreed that those data days would be really important. Otherwise, with the implementation of our highly qualified instructional materials, it was going to be really difficult to have those types of conversations if we weren't intentional about that. So the day after a common formative assessment is given, then teachers have that day to pull up the assessment if they would like. We do ours through iReady. They can pull up the assessment and kind of walk kids through it, and then they have the opportunity to track not only that score, but then whatever other data they are keeping up with. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, for sure. Tracy, did you have any other like follow-up questions for Christy? All right. Anybody else? Any other ahas or questions? All right. Well, hopefully this was helpful for you to dig in, have a little bit of time, and to see examples. And like I mentioned, if you have an example that you've created or something that you create after today, share it with Brooke, and Brooke can add it to this folder.
All right, so with that, we are so grateful for all of the sharing and asking questions of each other and learning that you've done this afternoon. If you're looking at the agenda, I want to let you know that we always overplan because we get so excited about all of the things we want to work with you on. But we've decided that it's best to move into reflection now instead of trying to squeeze one more thing into our brains, and we will push the social emotional learning conversation to a more in-depth build out for our October session. So with that, what we're going to do is take the time required for learning by reflecting. And so our reflection questions are, why do you think it's important for students to be involved in this data notebook conversation? Right? Teachers track data, they have for a long time. Why is it important for students to be involved in these conversations? And then think about, what do you expect to see students doing or saying if you feel like you're making progress with your data notebooks? So I'm going to mute myself and give you a little bit of time to think, and then I'll invite folks to jump into the chat or on the mic. And as you're thinking, feel free to drop those answers, those thoughts into the chat, or to jump on the microphone. I'm already seeing people saying, like, this is how the students are going to really start to take ownership of their learning. That's from Joanna, and Marcia's saying this does help for that two-way accountability process. You're building that process. Yeah, you're gaining buy-in into the concept. I like to say we're building learners instead of just delivering content. We're building learners. Any other thoughts? Intrinsic motivation. Yes, they start to see, like, this is an outcome of my behavior, and I need to be actively involved and motivated to do these things, to make changes. Yeah, and they have a much better self-awareness of, like, where they're at and how they can move forward. And over time, they start to build that understanding of what's working and what's not for them. So important. Thank you, Jody. What about this other thought? What do we think when kids are into this and we feel like it's working? What do we think they're going to be doing and saying? How are we going to recognize progress? Any thoughts on that? I love that, Tracy. We should do sessions, parent ed sessions. I do think great data notebooks and ultimately progress can lead to really good student-led conferences. If we're putting student work in there, you're like building the conference as you fly. Any other thoughts? What are you going to see differently in your students, in your schools? What are they going to say? What are they going to do differently? So you can feel like this is worth the time and energy we're putting into it. Something that I've seen is kids starting to help other kids with their metacognition. And that's really exciting when kids start to talk to each other about successful ways to learn and other strategies to try. That gets to be very exciting. Anybody else? What do you see kids do or say that helps you feel like this is worth the time and energy? Yes, academic vocabulary, discussing their own data. I know I like totally nerd out over that. Like, look, they're talking about their data. That's great. Yeah, less saying I was given a grade. Absolutely. I earned this and this is how I did it. Right? Nothing better than being at a parent conference led by a student who can tell you that. I earned this and this is how I did it. Or this wasn't working for me, so I changed to this. Yes, peer-to-peer feedback, right? Getting them talking to each other, just like we get excited when they're talking to each other about their books or what they're reading. Let's get them talking about their learning. Language and culture shift. Yes, the kids and the teachers, right? We start to see that shift. Excellent. Yeah, as we go into like embarking on these, it's always important for us to think about what is success going to feel like. How are we going to know we're being successful? Thank you for thinking on that. We encourage you to keep thinking on that. We did decide we will send you the social emotional learning framework in the follow-up email so you can look at it in between. And with that, Bethany is going to take us through our next steps.
All right. So as we head out of today's session, hopefully you'll have just a moment to debrief learning reflections and next steps with not only your team, but also Brooke as she circles back with you over the course of the rest of this week or on into next week. Just set a plan for action between now and our next session, which is tied to our next item here. Continue to gather data. Remember, data doesn't have to be kind of, just benchmark data. It can be all sorts of data that you could start to collect on your team's progress and come ready, much like you did today, to share kind of where you are as a team in terms of meeting your sustainability grant goals. We'll do some sharing at our next in-person community meeting, which is scheduled for October 26th. And I've got a little more information about that for you in just a moment. But we also want you to provide some feedback real quick before you hop off. So we're giving you permission to multitask. All right. So if you want to go ahead and click that feedback link in the chat. While you're doing that, I'm going to give a high-level overview of the next time we're going to be together. So remember, today we shifted from in-person to virtual. So we're going to try to get that full day in-person session on October 26th. We'll keep you in the loop if anything changes, but our goal is that in-person day. And I want to think maybe there might be a typo here. Let me double check something. There is. Teresa, that should say 9 to 3:30. So we can get that updated. It's on the next slide as well, but I just noticed that right then as it popped up. So 9,000. All right. So but we'll be together on October 26th from 9 to 3:30. We're going to do some more deeper learning around different focus areas that you chose for your work. And like I said a minute ago, we're going to share progress on your grant work. So the next slide gives kind of a little save the date and an RSVP link. Again, we're going to send all of this out in a follow-up email, so don't feel like you have to write all this down real quick. But our next meeting is October 26th. That's on a Tuesday, 9 to 3:30. It's going to be here in Greenville at the 4-H Lodge at the Clyde Austin 4-H Center. We're going to send directions and all that good stuff in a follow-up email. And we do need you to RSVP, and it's so important for your entire grant team to come. We're going to plan for some things that really are going to require that kind of team effort for that day. So don't forget to RSVP for that. All right, then. And it's just a reminder, all of our sustainability grant resources are on the Rural Life website. And so that's linked here. These slides will be posted to that website as well. Teresa dropped that link in the chat earlier, and she's doing it again now. But if you'll just navigate up there to the top where it says professional learning, choose sustainability grant, then you will be able to see all of our resources housed on this one page. All right. So with that, we'll give you a moment to finish up your feedback form. And as a reminder, we'll send all of this in a follow-up email, so no worries. And of course, our contact information is also included as well. Guys, shout out to you. It is 5:25 on a Wednesday afternoon, 2-hour virtual session after a long, busy day. It just shows the commitment that you all have to this work, along with all the wonderful things you shared earlier related to the progress your teams are having in your schools. So big shout out to you. Nancy, Teresa, any other follow-ups?
No, just thank you so much for joining us. I hope you do go back and share those to-do lists. They're so awesome with your staff, because they should be very proud of the hard work you've all done.
Yes, and we can't wait to see you on October 26th in person.
We'll hang around if anybody has any questions.